News Radio 700 WLW.
It has been a mess this week again at just about every level in our country, not the least of which is economically. We saw a second consecutive quarter of negative GDP growth. That usually is the standard definition for recession, but don't believe that is what we heard from virtually everybody in the administration. Those that know better know exactly what this country is in right now. And, of course, consumer confidence took a plunge this week. Inflation continues to run high. We'll get the July inflation numbers sometime in the middle of August. Meantime, we still have what we have at the southern part of this United States, which is an all-out invasion, both of illegals and drugs, fentanyl. And on an airplane headed to the Far East is Nancy Pelosi. Now, will Nancy Pelosi go to Taiwan? Will her trip take her there? And Joe Biden, who apparently was taken to school by China President Xi, who said, look, you're playing with fire if Pelosi comes into Taiwan escorted by military jets. That would put the United States at military odds against China, which some would say their Navy is superior to ours, and militarily they may be superior to us as well. We'll see. This country seems to be out of control. Standing by is somebody who has seen this from the inside out. It's been a while since we talked to Dr. Nathaniel Cogley. He is, of course, at Tarleton State University, but he is so much more. At Tarleton State University, by the way, he is the Associate Professor of Political Science, but he proudly served the United States of America as a senior advisor to the Office of the Deputy Secretary of Commerce. That was during the last year of the Trump administration, and now he is back teaching young, fertile minds about what this country is all about. And Dr. Cogley, how are you on this glorious Saturday?
I'm doing good, Ken. Thanks for the introduction.
Well, I'm happy to talk to you again. It has been a while. You've seen this from the inside out. Let's get the political science, and then we'll get to that, and then we'll get to exactly the actual state of affairs in this country. Joe Biden is about a year and 3/4 into his 4 years as president of the United States. We'll see if it goes past 4 years. At this point, do you expect him to run in 2024?
Well, he's indicated that he intends to, but that's going to create a problem for the powers that be in the Democratic Party. If we remember, around Super Tuesday, there was this great movement to rally behind Joe Biden as maybe the best vehicle to win the election. But the powers that decided he was the best vehicle to win the election last time are maybe not thinking he's the best vehicle this time. So this could be kind of a breaking point where maybe Biden's self-interest doesn't match up with the party's interest, and you could see some conflict over that going forward.
Right, exactly. And there would be great consternation if indeed he does not run. There could be great joy, there could be great celebration, but the consternation is who comes up and assumes the mantle of that particular party. Who do the powers in that party anoint as the standard bearer in 2024? You would think it would be Kamala Harris, but I'm not so sure she has the political gravitas, nor has she shown since January 2021 that she would be an able president. Yeah, I've been shown that she could be an able vice president. But if they bypass Kamala Harris, and I heard this theory proposed last night, you can weigh in on it. She is a woman of color. She is someone that was thought highly of in California. And to pass her over and perhaps anoint the next white guy, whether it's Gavin Newsom or whomever, that would create a tremendous political problem for the Democrats, who have been historically overwhelmingly supported by African Americans, and particularly African American women. They're in a conundrum there with her, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. And she wouldn't want to be passed over. She'd like to be the nominee, I'm sure, if there's a competition for it. But last time she ran for president, I think she spent around $50 million and didn't even make it to the first state, so it was not a very effective campaign for president. She certainly has ability to win elections. She won Senate, and then she was dubbed vice president. But, she's never been a great candidate for president. She's never had traction in those competitions. Her poll numbers are down, but certainly she wouldn't want to be passed over for that opportunity if it arises. So I think the Democrats do really have a problem here with who would be their nominee for president in 2024 if there was a vacancy. But, that's what primaries are for. They had a really big field last time of around over 20 candidates with, back-to-back debates. And, they can go through that process again if they need to.
Now, the other side of it is interesting because of Donald Trump. And, full disclosure, as I mentioned, you served in the Trump administration from April 2020 to July 2020. And then you were with, if I'm not mistaken, you were the Deputy Director of Policy for the U.S. Census Bureau from July 2020 until January 2021. So you were there, you served. Donald Trump is obviously very popular with a large segment of the Republican Party, but he comes with baggage. The Republicans' problem is if Trump is the nominee, they'll throw everything at him like they did during 2 impeachments and now this January 6th commission. Does he have the ability, in your opinion, knowing full well you used to work in his administration, does he have the ability to handle that baggage and win another term in 2024?
Well, one thing that impresses me about President Trump so much is his willingness to fight the fight, So, I think he can handle the heat. He's done that before. I think he's already polling above Joe Biden in a potential matchup. I don't have any personal insight into whether or not he's going to run, but just following the news, it looks to me like that's very likely. So, this is one of the very real possibilities is him coming back for a second term, kind of like Grover Cleveland did, 2 terms that are not back-to-back. This is one, and in fact, he's the current betting odds leader for 2024. So not only am I saying it's possible, but other people are with their money as well. Okay, so you think if he runs, he can win. All right, we'll see if that matches up. I've been watching. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. The January 6th hearings. They are political theater. Try as the media might to have you convinced otherwise. This is political theater. There's no semblance of a trial. They have 2 Republicans on this committee. One is retiring and hates Trump. One will be retired in a primary here in a week or 2 and hates Trump. And the Republicans that Kevin McCarthy wanted to put on that committee were rejected. But yet, there are things that come out that, uncontested, seem to be damning to Trump. Do you think that Donald Trump will take on a significant amount of water from what's going on right now with that committee? And would you expect that committee to recommend to the Department of Justice that Trump be indicted? Well, I do think they're trying to make every effort to try to avoid Trump running and winning again. The first time he ran, they called him Hitler, so they've thrown everything they can at him. I'm not sure that, even if they want to charge him with something that would disqualify him from running, he's still allowed to run for the presidency. I think this is, designed to make him look bad and certainly try to bring his numbers down. But you got to understand, Ken, they'll do that to any opposition. Any Republican nominee was going to get hit with, as much negative press as possible. So, he's able to stand the heat and fight the fight. Others, can fight the fight, but I think they'll do their best. But that's nothing new. They've been doing that for a long time. I've said on this radio station that Merrick Garland, who is the Attorney General, is the most politicized Attorney General in my lifetime, and my lifetime includes John Mitchell. Would you expect him to pursue anything legally against a former president, the specter of which would be absolutely stunning? I just spent
about 3 or 4 days up in Grand Rapids, and I went through the Gerald Ford Museum up there. And Gerald Ford basically took one for the country, and down deep probably knew that it would just absolutely ruin his career if Richard Nixon went on trial. I don't know if Merrick Garland is of the same fiber. I mean, there is, no one should be above the law, but if the law is politically motivated, then we got a problem with the law. Would you expect Merrick Garland to actually go through with something where you would have the specter of a sitting president on trial and maybe winding up in jail?
You got to ask, what is the charge? They've had trouble trying to even articulate their charges. They use various words. But the last I checked in on the committee, they were very concerned that he didn't read the script as written for him, that he actually edited his speech, So this is not that's certainly not a crime. I mean, presidents are allowed to choose the words in their speech, So, I mean, I don't think they're going to. I think this is to create the specter of wrongdoing without actually a formal charge. I faced that. I got all sorts of negative press, implying that I was doing wrong things in the government. But, there's never been any sort of actual charges. Even the Inspector General of Commerce never even asked me any questions. There never was anything wrong. In fact, I'm behind the scenes arguing that we should follow the law. So I don't imagine that they're going to charge him, no.
Dr. Nathaniel Cogley is our guest. As I said, he served the United States. He was the senior advisor to the Office of the Deputy Secretary of Commerce and then the Deputy Director of Policy at the U.S. Census Bureau in calendar year 2020 to 2021. There are a lot of issues that the Republicans can run on this fall, and not the least of which is the economy. But there will be other things. There will be Roe versus Wade. That will be a big thing. There will be perceived attack on other gender rights. There will be a lot of things that will be noise out there. But does it, in your opinion, and having studied political science and now teaching political science, does it always come back to the economy? Was James Carville right all those years ago when he said it's the economy, stupid? Do you think it all folds back to that in November when these midterms are going to occur?
Well, I think the economy will be the number one issue. Inflation is hitting us very hard. There's no way around not paying for government. You have to pay for your government. And so the biggest government you get, you're going to pay for it. And the hidden tax is the inflation tax. So that's going to be number one. But I think crime and safety are a strong number two. We have some district attorneys that aren't prosecuting criminal activity. There needs to be a deterrent for criminal activity. And also a lot of these things with the public schools and the agendas being pushed on kids in the public schools really hits home for a lot of voters who maybe politics isn't their passion, but that they do send their kids to public schools, and they may not appreciate some of the agendas that are being pushed on young kids in elementary school. And we even see, Hispanics starting to be a little more split between the two parties, tend to have a strong family structures and traditions, and some of the problems with inflation, crime, and the public schools affect Americans of all walks of life. So, I think these three will be the top issues.
And those should be three issues the Republicans excel at. First of all, they're not in power, and so you can really hammer away at what's transpired when you're not the party in power over the course of the last couple of years. But traditionally, those are three very big points for Republicans in any election. So this should be a real strength for them going. We hear about the big red wave that's coming and this and that. We'll see. I've heard enough of that in my life to know it doesn't always come true. But those should be things that should really be huge legs up for them in this November. And when the other noise starts filtering in about Trump and what Justice Thomas wants to do and this and that, I think that's pebbles at a monument. I think they win. I don't think that they lose if they stick to those things and don't stray from that message. That would be my advice to them. What about you?
I think it's almost guaranteed the Republicans will take the House. If you look at the 50 most competitive House races about 40 of them are Democratic seats. So if you just say they're going to split those 50, 25, 25, the Republicans will pick up about 15 seats for a very clear majority. But, in a midterm cycle with no presidential election on the line and an incumbent that's not very popular, the Republicans should do better than 25 of those seats, to pick up maybe 40 of those seats and maybe pick up 30 seats for something like a 244 majority in the House. However, the Senate is much more complicated because, as you know, Ken, not all the senators are up for election, so only a third of them are up for election. So the Republicans should do very well with this class of senators. The only problem is 6 years ago in 2016, they already won this class. So just by, winning 20 of these 34 Senate races, that would just kind of match where they're currently positioned. They need to improve on that. So it's not guaranteed that they take the Senate. I think getting up to 51 or 52 seats is a very real possibility, but not guaranteed. If they stay at 50, of course, Kamala Harris breaks the tie and Democrats keep control. The real gain in the Senate is going to be in 2024, because that's the class of senators that the Democrats have dominated now for 18 years. And currently the Democrats have 23 of those 33 senators that will be on the ballot in 2024. And Republicans can pick up a lot of Senate seats in 2024. But in this cycle, they'll be lucky to pick up one or two.
Yeah, and we've got a hot one here in Ohio between Tim Murphy and J.D. Vance with Rob Portman retiring. So it's this becomes, I think, a focal point, and we've already seen it with money that's going to be spent in the state of Ohio.
Right, but in 2024, you have your other Ohio seat up.
That's right, Brown's up in 2024. So, yeah, absolutely. And but for this current cycle, if they take the House, the Republicans take the House, that pretty much puts the brakes on what we've seen the last year and a half, which was this unfettered spending. The Republicans would be able then to write law, to temper law, and if it gets to the Senate, it gets to the Senate. Maybe there's a deal. Who knows if there's a deal? But the House is really important because that's where the process begins. And I all I can say is we spent a hell of a lot of money in the last year and a half. And I don't know where the press is that's printing it, but I'd sure like to get the key to that room, because there's, we just saw it this week with the chip bill, and then all of a sudden on the heels of that, Manchin caves, and we get the mini new Green Deal. So I just, I just hope that there could be some, and this may be a stretch for Washington, as you know, there's some fiscal responsibility that may begin to take effect in January of next year. We'll see. Dr. Cogley, it's great. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, getting control of the House, they'll have, some influence on legislation and oversight. But the Senate's still very important. As you know, the president and the Senate without the House can do appointments, including Supreme Court appointments. So that combination is still a valuable one.
Absolutely. Not dismissing that at all. Doctor, great catching up with you. Stay well. Welcome back to America. And because Washington is that we don't know what that is out there, but welcome back, and we will visit down the road. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Ken.